A stroke of luck or a stroke of genius for Warren Buffett, his Berkshire Hathaway with the best year ever. His annual letter out now, our column bar following it all. Good year for Buffett.
Very good year. This is his best year ever in terms of the value of the company. It's up $22 billion. Follows his worst year ever. The value was way down in 2008. So a lot of it is just a reflection of the stock market. The stock market was much healthier, obviously, last year than it was the year before.
But he had some really exceptional standouts: Coke, American Express, Procter & Gamble.
Right. Yeah. Well, he's had those positions for a long time. They've done very well. His Berkshire's paper gain, the unrealized gain they have in Coke, is more than $10 billion at this point. And some of their very long-held positions have performed very well.
But yet you still see some of the same losers in this year's results as you did the year before. ConocoPhillips,
right? Namely,
there, U.S. Bancorp not performing well for him. Kraft. Sort of across the sectors.
Yeah, Conoco, I think, is one that he really does regret. He pointed that out as a major mistake the year before.
Right.
They cut it way back. They sold 55% of their stake, but it's still way underwater. The average price now they have on that is 48, and they bought it basically at 72. So.
One thing that I think is interesting and that you've pointed out from this letter is the $50 million credit card issue, looking at GEICO credit card division.
Right. Buffett, it's kind of an amusing story. Buffett decided that there must be a way for Berkshire to cash in on all the loyal customers for GEICO.
Which are very loyal.
They are very loyal,
They love the gecko?
Right, they like the ads, and the company's roles have been really expanding. I mean, they're up to 9 million policyholders now, and they were at just 4 million, I think, in 2002. So it's been a real growth story, and he's trying to think of ways to cash in on that. And one idea that he came to was, let's sell a GEICO credit card. And he thought, well, we'll get the best customers. It'll be great. It'll be kind of a way for us to make some free money.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea, but didn't work out.
Did not work out, right. So they ended up losing $50 million on it over a course of a couple of years. And then he said that he had been debating this with people at GEICO, and he had been defending the idea by saying that he was older and wiser. But at the end of this whole thing, he decided, well, maybe I was just older.
What's great about Warren Buffett is he's willing to admit places where his decision didn't turn out exactly the way he wanted.
No, that's definitely right.
I don't think all CEOs ever do that.
No, there's not a lot of that out there. That's definitely right. And another area in which he said he's been wrong was NetJets, which is the private jet company that they run, and that had a huge loss last year. It had a $700 billion loss. And
given the fact that CEOs shouldn't be seen these days, I guess, at least if you're head of a bank, flying in a private jet, that doesn't help.
No, that's true. That's true. That and just the economy has not been good. So that business has not been doing all that well. But he changed CEOs, and so now they've brought in
David Sokol, head of Mid-American Energy, which so many people talk about as a potential successor.
That's right.
To Warren.
And this will certainly not the announcement of Sokol as the new CEO there will not quiet that kind of speculation. He doesn't have anything to say on the issue of succession in the letter this year.
And finally, lashing out at, as you put it, some of the top...
The fat cat CEOs, right.
Well, as President Obama has deemed as fat cats on Wall Street. Interesting to hear Warren's perspective on this. Right.
Well, I think his perspective is always that a business is best run by owners because they have a stake in the business and it's their, it's basically, most of them business owners have their wealth tied up in their company. And one of the problems with most corporate managers is that they actually receive a lot of compensation regardless of how the company does.
Sure, which is not the way that he runs his company.
No, absolutely right. I mean, he owns Berkshire. He's the controlling shareholder. So if Berkshire were to start doing poorly, that it would come directly out of his pocket. And so that's his proposal, essentially, is that the CEOs of major banks, the too big to fail banks, that they should basically have all their wealth, at stake when they run their company. He doesn't sketch out exactly how would you do this, and it's a somewhat radical proposal. I mean, Congress has enough trouble making any changes in the way executive pay is done in this country. So, I mean, this would be something companies would have to take up voluntarily. Is any CEO going to volunteer to do this?
Maybe, but it's interesting, look back to about a year and a half ago before we had PPIP, it was Warren Buffett who really came up with that idea, ostensibly.
No, that's true. Right.
So he does put them out there and the lawmakers listen.
No, it's a legitimate idea. I mean, I think that anybody who's looked at the issue knows that would solve some problems, that you really would have a lot less of this kind of separation between the managers and the owners. The managers would be much more attuned to what's good for the business rather than what's good for themselves. So there's no doubt that's true. It's just how do you actually push that through in a world where most of the people on boards and most of the people in management actually have grown up in this world where this is what they do, and they heads they win, tails they win.
Right. Colin, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.